to us about whatever they said to the Board of Visitors last spring. I don't know what they said, which is why I invited them to come in and talk to us about whatever they said. So I'm Barlow Woman.
I'm Cristóbal Palmer, Master's in Information Science student here at SILS, and I work with iBiblio.
I'm Kathy Wisser. I'm a doctoral candidate and Director of Instructional Services here at SILS.
Don King, Distinguished Research Professor, sometimes referred to as Mr. Griffiths. More importantly, by the way.
My name is Holly White. I'm a doctoral student here at SILS.
Jeff Pomerantz, faculty here at SILS. Yeah, that's all. That's enough, I think.
I'm Hugh Kalis. I work for the Carolina Digital Library and Archives.
Scott Adams, my teacher.
For me? Okay. I'm Paul Jones, and I'm direct out of video and teaching journalism and information science.
I'm Dave Rubio. I'm in the Biology and Chemistry Library.
I'm Stephanie Haas, SILS faculty.
Donald Sizemore, I work for iBiblio. Ken Chestnut, I work for iBiblio.
Oh, here comes Jane now, in fact. Okay, so if we mess around for a few more seconds. Okay, so who are we and why are we here? So I sent a little note that might possibly be useful to just, this meeting comes because I've had lots of different ad hoc conversations over the years, and more intensely in the last semester up until the last few months, about what open source, open access, open formats, and open content are, and how many of our faculty actually do participate in those areas or do research in those areas, are incented by grant-giving organizations to put their work into those areas. So, and SILS, that doesn't mean that SILS hasn't been doing anything. We've been doing a lot of things. We're members of the Open Content Alliance, we're participating in Open Library, we've published about open source and open source production and communications at AC Young, and other, and ACES, a couple of other journals. iBiblio is one of the largest consistent distributors of that, of open source materials, and that's not just software, but we host Project Gutenberg, music that's allowed to be shared, some other stuff like that. So, and different people came to me with different ideas of what they were doing with it. And Jane Greenberg came and said she was up to something we should talk about more, and Jonathan came to me and said he's doing a presentation at JCDL about open source library software, and how Cal and Helen have both been very involved in what it takes to make archives work with open source and with open formats in particular. And Jeff has come and said, hey, come on in. He said that he was interested in doing this with Library 2.0 to see where things go there. And we have the president of the Open Source Initiative as a visiting scholar at our school, Michael Tiemann. And we various times received money from Red Hat, and it was one of our places here, one of our benefactors. And we've also had various speakers and people that iBiblio has brought in over the years talking about these same ideas that are out there. So as we were shooting emails back around, it struck me as a good idea that we might actually try to think comprehensively and cohesively about what we're doing. The idea is to be more inclusive about what we're doing, not to exclude people that don't want to do it and don't have to participate in any of this. It does seem to be in the tradition of relationship to create lower barriers to access, or charge for it if you're pay library in the right places. But, and there's certainly ideas behind open source, which is one of the things I guess I wrote about a number of years back in Communications ACM, which is not just using the software, but thinking about the principles of self-organization, cultural impact, and other issues is very useful. To that end, there's a brand new book out called The Cultural Significance of Free Software. 2 bits from Duke University Press. It's a big deal there. And the Haystack people are all excited. I think they have a little money in it. This does go farther. You can download this for free, or you can pay for it.
Who's the author?
The-
There are multiple authors.
The author is Chris Kelty, who's at Rice University. He's an anthropologist, but in fact, it's listed not only in new media, science and technology studies, but also anthropology. If you want to, if you shelf this book, you can shelf it those 3 places. That subject. So, and there's a series actually that comes that has to do with technological lives and anthropology, so that Duke has started, and that's also coming out of their MacArthur relationship and stuff. So, in fact, MacArthur at their last talk is a big sponsor of open source work and open source projects, and NIH, who we work with, is requiring the databases be made accessible and usable and open usable too. So we know, and as near as I can tell by surveying the world out there, there's no school, computer science or otherwise, that really has said we'd like to make some cohesive focus out of this. And USA and I've talked about this a few times, and we've talked about this to faculty a few times, and I thought what we might do is sort of start out just a brainstorming session and saying whether we're interested, how we would do it, what we'd bring to the table, and see where we go from there to try to make that kind of thing happen. So, to that end, also I think it's nice that we have people here who don't have anything directly to do with SILS, so that shows, I think, that there's a UNC-wide interest of it. I mean, it's summer and nobody's here, but we fill up the room, so I want to thank you for that. Huh?
What's that all about?
I don't know, I just think if we'd advertise pizza.
Just thinking we'd have had pizza.
Don already had pizza. And a couple of people have said, I think, do you have Terrell on? Terrell was going to join us maybe here.
Say hi, Terrell.
Hey, Terrell.
Hi, Terrell.
Okay, there he is. So Terrell's here too. He's out at Xerox Park. I guess it's early enough that he'll talk to us. So what I thought I'd do next is just put down some ideas and put down some of the areas that we're working on. I mean, it seems like a good way to allow our people to participate in different ways. And so I'm not going to step on you, but I'm going to start down here and just put code so it's not to describe the new source, and that can be programming or whatever in production you're using. And then access. This might not be the right order, but we'll do that. And then formats, which arguably are part of and arguably formats and access are part of it. You don't have a culture. Because one of the things that we've seen over the past 3 or 4 years at Biblio is we've run on conferences fairly successfully. You know, we regularly draw 200 or 300 people to the Podcasting Conference or the Bar Camp or Science Bloggers Conference. And those are self-organizing conferences, which we ask the people coming to the conference sign up on a wiki, and they decide, people say this is what they're gonna talk about, and they come together and do that kind of thing. Hey, have a seat. You can take that one, because I guess I'm not sitting down. Yeah, well, you'll be in trouble soon. Okay. Huh? That would, it would be an improvement, wouldn't it? Say that. There you go. So, see, my blackboard skills are not there. So, who here, so just for funsies, who here is working on have I left out something that's important to people? Yes.
Well, I'm not sure where you put it, but I'm thinking about research. You know, like, so any of these
Right.
areas you can do research in.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But so, you know, is it something that goes all the way through, or is that something that's unique or could distinguish our research? Because
so let's do this.
remember we used to
Let's
have,
put
we had
here,
at one point, that, what
let's
was
put
that?
here research
OSRT
and,
or whatever.
and teaching
Yeah,
and service.
yeah,
Or practice.
yeah, I like that.
Well, service and practice, yeah, okay, sure.
Practice.
Practice and service, because we are supposed to provide service. We are a professional school, and we're supposed to have and those are the three things we get judged on, right? I mean, if you're a faculty member, yeah, we should think about those. And is service and practice okay together, huh?
Grant funding.
Yeah, that does.
Although that should fall under
yeah,
research.
That should, and it also can be practice or service too. I mean, you can get funded for that. And you can get teaching grants. There's an opportunity there, really, because this, I've been talking to Patrick Conway at the Center for Faculty Excellence, which used to be known as the Center for Teaching and Learning, so I guess that means the emphasis has changed. Instead, there won't be any teaching and learning, but it will be excellent. Most excellent, in fact. And they're looking for ways to make things available in the classroom in new ways. There are opportunities. So does that look okay? Does this look like a right grid for doing this? I mean, I'm not sure where I'm going with this yet, but I'm trying not to. I've come to this with only. So who's writing code? Or should we just ask who's participating in different parts? Is that okay, or do you want to, or how we would do it? Should we talk about people or about process here?
It'd be interesting to see the different.
Yeah, I just wondered who,
Take a survey.
the people who are here, just kind of do a survey. So, how about this, just for funsies? We can't it's gonna be hard, what we could do at a bar camp or something is we would everybody would come up and check out where they were in the grid, right? So, but that might be a little hard here. So if you, how about if we draw this
Lines.
yeah, lines, and then we'll just, and, well, we get started, starting with this.
Not at all, because it will be so simple.
Yeah.
You don't have a column for sheer
I've
curiosity.
never thought of you as a simple person.
No.
Okay, when you open your.
Fine.
Question mark.
I like that.
Okay, so I haven't, I plead guilty to not having defined any of this. There is an official definition for open source. There's an open source definition is at opensource.org, as far as code goes. Open content is at the Open Content Alliance is defined there. Open formats, you can check it out on Wikipedia, what the hell. And open content has several, we talked about that. Open access is basically no DRL in a lot of ways, but it's also ways you can get at stuff. And the culture part, I think that's still being defined, and that's part of what Chris Keeley's book is about, among other things. So, okay, so you're only curious.
Well, I would write it as sheer curiosity, not only curiosity.
And are you curious in a research way, a teaching way, or a practice way?
Yes. sheer curiosity is all around.
Actually, you shouldn't say SC, but I'm going to use your initials instead. Okay, Don Sizemore.
Hello.
Where would you put yourself here? Well, you could.
Maybe over by grants.
We do this too. We do this too.
Do we have a few more
I'm doing this
details
part.
as we go along?
Huh?
Do we have a few more details as we go along?
Sure.
Or you want
More than what's-
examples of how we're doing
Yeah,
this?
like.
Yeah, that's good.
We need some credit.
So what do you do?
I implement things when people ask me to do.
Okay, so you provide service and access, is that true? And content? You do, and are you not also going to?
And advice.
Are you not also attending the open content allowance at the library stuff?
I've been told I sell myself short.
You are, so start talking.
Can I go for sheer curiosity?
You can go for sheer curiosity, but you need to tell us what you do.
Okay. So, I'm a system administrator for a biblio. We touch most of these points actually. Since we're concerned with open formats and open culture.
Yeah. Who stacked you here, right beside Ken? Yes.
Jump in any time, eh?
Yes. Oh no, you can have that chair.
For example, under open content, we encourage, we'll have contributors come to us with some form of archive, whether it's their work, some photographs they've taken, books they've written. We'll encourage them to post them on our site using a Creative Commons license. That will allow people to
That's ACC, is the
exactly to distribute their music, their whatever. So that other people, and that would kind of, under formats, feel free to publish music on our biblio if you'd like. Don't wrap it in the other. That's just kind of where we're going with that. Under access, we'll encourage people to use things like MediaWiki, which is really accessible to anyone who has a web browser. That allows large groups of people to contribute to a project. We also, this is very software specific, but there's a project, which is also an online project management software that allows groups of people to manage projects across the world.
I just tossed mailman in there and access. Anybody with email can be on a mailing list. And I would argue that's a big part of culture too.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna get to you then.
All right. Sorry.
Well, actually, I guess we added some. I should have let you write this, right?
No, I don't know what you're writing. It's not on your brain.
Yeah, but nobody else will know either, even when I'm finished. So, okay, Dr. Wilma.
The only thing I touch that's open access, I think, is I'm volunteered to do a Sakai implementation this fall.
That sounds like it, that's code.
Yikes.
And you're doing that for teaching, or you're doing that for?
Teaching. We put up our curriculum project modules with Creative Commons licenses. That's content, I guess. It's a grant, we're not sure whether it's a research grant or a teaching grant. It's kind of on that borderline.
Okay, we're just looking at that CC. Okay.
That's about it.
That's it? Oh, you said
I'm
something.
into culture, I'm way for open.
Huh?
I'm way for open, yes.
Okay.
Well, first of all, definitely highly curious, but I feel like just so much, I guess I know most people here, not everyone, Jane, I'm on the faculty at SILS. Just in the last 5 years, so much of what I'm doing is touching on so many of the research projects or teaching, somehow open source is filtering in. I can't get away from it. So I feel like, no, I don't want to. I feel like I open source, open access, you know, I want to know more about it. Let's see, let me go through some projects. First of all, Holly White, she'll say too, but we're working on a project called the Dryad Project with evolutionary biologists, and it's open access to data. So I guess that would go under content, probably. Content, right, it's data supporting publications, so it's content, the data itself is content, but it's open access. And in my teaching, in organizing information, I use Protégé, which is open source software, and I'm constantly looking for other kinds of open source, freely accessible software. And Kathy and I have, and Christina Spurning, she's really gotten us talking about different software to use.
And just to pause you for a second,
Yeah.
Protégé is for building ontologies?
Yeah,
is
yes,
that right?
yes, ontology software comes out of Stanford, and it's great. What else?
Bot 2.0 and Twitter and
Bot 2.0 is open web. Well, that's sort of Web 2.0 social networking.
Yeah, I kind of put that over here for access, that Web 2.0 style collaboration is,
So-
I kind of put that in access, because people have access not just to read it, but actually participate.
And y'all are, with that, you're using WordPress and,
Yes.
which is blogging software?
Blogging, I use it for MRC. I did come to iBiblio for almost all my projects, some kind of open something up. And just like curious, in a research sense, when I first came here, Paul and myself and Greg Newby and Bert Dempsey, we did some analysis, and Deborah Weiss, of LSM records, just trying to, you know, I was excited because they were metadata records.
Right.
But how they could tell us a little bit about what.
They were user-created metadata, though.
Yeah, user-generated metadata, but how they could tell us a little bit about who was writing open source code. So I just, I don't know, it's big. It's big. I can't put my finger on one specific thing, but open access, open source software, it all just keeps coming up, and so.
What about Hive? Oh, is that still open?
Yeah, that's another project, but I think it's enough. Yeah. Well, you talk about Hive.
Okay.
Open access to vocabulary.
Do you want to jump over and do it while you're?
Well, I basically do it with Jane.
No.
If
you're mine.
Yeah. I basically do it with Jane, but we have another project in the work with open access to vocabularies and being able to pick and choose and create your own vocabularies.
So, Kevin, how do you need to tell us who you are and stuff?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm hiding.
We went around and introduced ourselves at the beginning.
Yeah,
I missed that part.
a lot of people came a little bit late, so we all introduced ourselves once, but probably when we go to this place, we should. Yeah.
My name is Kevin Oddie. I'm a systems administrator for the university libraries. So, you know, www.lib and those sorts of systems I keep up and running. So we're really heavily involved. Most of our plant is Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Apache, PHP.
Python.
Some Python is entering the mix now, yes.
And Java again.
Yeah,
well, that's right.
Don't remind him, that's painful.
Okay, so you guys are doing that. You could be
Yeah.
having access to.
Yeah, a lot, you know, definitely open access protocols, the formats, you know, we try and keep everything to JPEGs and XMLs and nice open formats. Of course, you could probably tell you a lot more about the nitty-gritty of that stuff.
We'll get down, don't worry. Palmer.
So where would I put myself?
Where would you put some of the things you're doing? Yeah, this is really just a sort of self-inventory.
I would say, personally, on my own time, apart from iBiblio, I'm definitely, the area that I'm interested in thinking about and looking at is the culture end. But what I actually do on a daily basis when I work with iBiblio, I'm not, how to put this? I think the the most useful thing that I provide for iBiblio is kind of human translation of what the heck does WordPress do. I've never heard of WordPress for people. You know, I want a wiki. Well, actually, a blog would be better. Or I want a blog. Well, actually, a wiki would be better. Sort of.
Oblique.
Yeah, oblique.
Okay, so that's probably access, I think.
Yeah.
I think I'm beginning to understand access better. You're also a member of Trilog and
Right.
do all this kind of thing. A number of our students are, Trilog is the Triangle Linux Users Group. And there is also a Carolina
Open Source Initiative, right.
which you're also a part of. I don't know where that is, but they advocate for the use of open source code.
And of course, Trilog's next meeting is tomorrow night, for those of you interested.
And what were you talking about?
DNSSEC, which is so DNS, the domain name system security.
Okay.
And actually, the BBC News this morning had a blurb about DNS vulnerability.
Oh, yeah,
So
that
this
was
has managed to break into the mainstream. So this is actually a very timely Trilog meeting. Probably going to be over the heads of people who aren't already familiar with the domain name system. But
Yeah, let's say the Trilog meetings have been leaning very technical lately. I'm hoping next month's will be a little more inclusive.
yeah.
I'm also participating in the Sakai pilot project, and in this Christina's catalog projects. I'm looking for tools. So,
Yeah.
I'm all for open source. It's just not my research area, but I would love to have tools to be able to use for better teaching and that sort of thing.
I've been doing research over the last 15 years that has implications for open access. And I'm not talking about open access dealing with the scholarly journals. And I'm an advisor on two national projects that are going on in the UK to look at alternative models for publishing in scholarly journals. And I have some fairly strong feelings about it. I'm a little bit of a maverick. One of the things is that the concepts of open access and journals is something that's not at all new. It's treated as though it's new only because we now have electronic access. But there are some issues that people need to face.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind spending a day or one of these sessions talking about that.
That'd be great.
Yeah, maybe next week if that's open.
Yeah, if you wanna do it.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I'll be out of
Well, for one thing is that one of the projects in the UK that's a national project was just finished, which I was an advisor on, and there's a new one starting out with Charles Oppenheim and people at Houghton in Australia and so on. They wanted me to be the project director, of course, I just couldn't. I mean, no possibility. But there's some issues about that. One is the history of it,
right,
of the concept. The other is the strengths and weaknesses of the different publishing models that we're talking about. And it's not clear. It's not at all clear. Just as an example, author side payment, which the Public Library of Science did, started out charging $250 for an author to publish it as PLS.
Right.
My research on the cost of publishing said it should be at least $1,500 to $3,000. Guess what PLS now charges? $1,750. So I've been exonerated. but it's obvious that these things are not quite as simple as they think.
Right. Oh yeah.
And I'm kind of open. I'm kind of in favor of author side, but there's some caveats there. I would like to talk about it.
See
I
who you
will
are, so that
talk
these
to
other.
you later. We'll schedule it either next
Okay.
week or else of the third, July 30th is also open.
Okay.
These She's heard it. So here you are, so we know. Okay.
So,
Because not all these guys know. Go
Oh,
say.
I'm Holly White.
But you've already done, because
I've
you've
already done,
it.
except for the community I come from, the Lawlery community, just started talking about open access when I left, which was like summer 2007. So that's kind of what we're doing.
And that, I mean, and that community is definitely a long way from moving the main body of work in that direction.
Right.
So, okay.
Imagine some implementations.
Oregon recently tried to declare that its laws were copyrighted. I thought that was funny.
Oregon?
Yeah.
The state of
Not
Oregon.
the state I would have expected to
Yeah.
have that.
They backed off on that once people actually presented them with evidence that no, that's
So your
public.
friend got the wrong end of the stick.
Yeah.
Since it's already come up, I'm also participating in the Sakai trial. Participated in it last semester as well.
I forgot about our evaluators wiki.
Yes, that's true. We're also using Sakai, although it's Virginia Tech's installation, so it doesn't count towards our university's trials. So there's that. I'm working with D-List, if you're familiar with that, the self-archiving repository. So I guess that should fall under open access. It's not a grant at the moment, but
You think it's
I suppose it's service practice. Hopefully it'll be something that we get a grant for ultimately. On the personal side, I'm trying to move away from all Microsoft products to Open Office. Unsuccessfully, I might add. It's just not quite there.
Is it plugins that you use, or just the formatting doesn't work right, or?
The formatting doesn't carry over from, and when all your colleagues use Word, it doesn't.
Virtually every form that is put out by UNC HR will not open properly.
Yeah.
We
Gotcha.
hate, but that's why.
But
people
we're-
There you go.
I don't know what else. Paul and I are teaching a Library 2.0 course in spring, which I suppose you have to put under culture.
Teaching.
I got it. Teaching and culture, right? Got it.
I guess that pretty much covers it for me.
How are you gonna do that course in there, Dave? Like,
I have no idea.
well, I mean.
It's well thought out.
No, I mean, I'm sorry, what
It's
I mean,
spring, right?
it's spring, so we got some.
It's like,
They'll
oh, I
probably
might
get
be
portions
thinking,
of that.
maybe you should.
Yes,
I think that's how we do journalism too. So you talk about what the law is, what the practice is, and you have people
I
do
will
it.
when I get back to vacation.
I think for the first course, and
Then we'll figure out what
we'd have to.
Oh, my battery's done.
Or you have some people having to prerequisite knowledge of the technology, I mean, it's like these guys are talking about things that I don't know what they're talking about, so.
I don't think we can ask for.
Go for
That's what I was just curious.
But it depends if you're, how you're using it or what you're.
Shame you can't
Yeah. You can teach people. how to
Shows up
use
as
it.
USB in the storage room. Besides, it comes off the side.
Also, it's a
so
490,
it would be-
so we would hopefully have both
See what?
masters and
I've got a wire.
so there's really no way to ask for a prereq or
There's
something
four
like
green
that.
wires you can throw in.
But,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we might have to do a level set, just who's in the class.
There we go.
That said, if you have ideas about things we should
Some-
cover in that class, we should talk
Well, I'm
about
just
it.
thinking about that in the school
The one
library
closer to you.
environment, just to have